Hey, this is Dancing Rabbit, and welcome to another late weekend pagan perspective for the week of January 7 through 12, and I believe this is January 13, but depending on where you start the week and where you stop it, it's still part of the week. Okay, we've got 3 questions this week. I'll read them just in case none of the other hosts read them. First question from Sir Karma. I was wondering if you guys consider Buddhists as pagans, and if so, why? I was a pagan/witch for about 4 years and then had to change my path. I now practice Buddhism, Nichiren Buddhism, and some Shinto. Okay, paganism are words. They're not a thing like a tree or an apple or a book. They're a concept, a category of classification, and the word paganism has a whole bunch of different sort of related meanings. Now, a lot of people would consider anybody who is not a monotheist, a Christian, Jew, or Muslim, to be a pagan. And if that's what you want to call paganism, then sure, Buddhists are pagans. They're not monotheists. Buddhism tends to be either agnostic or, in some of the varieties, pantheistic, possibly polytheistic, but most Buddhists are sort of agnostic. I think if you read the writings of the Buddha himself, it was like, don't ask me about gods because it's not important and I don't really know and it's not worth looking into. It was a very practical sort of philosophy. On the other hand, I use the word pagan very selectively to mean the pre-Christian polytheistic, pantheistic religions of Western Europe, and I'd also include the Middle East and ancient Egypt in that because it's part of that Mediterranean European culture. And the more modern reconstructions and attempts at reviving. I know that Wicca is largely useful personal Gnostics, at least of Gerald Gardner, some of his followers, even if you're a very traditional Wiccan. If you're an eclectic Wiccan, it's a whole lot of what works for me kind of stuff. But in any case, that's what I would call pagan. If I said, I'm pagan or are you pagan, I would assume that we were talking about some form of ancient Western polytheism, and in that case Buddhism wouldn't be pagan, at least the way I would use pagan. But if we sat down and had a conversation, I think one of the first things we do would be to discuss vocabulary, to talk about what do you mean by and what do I mean by, so that we don't misunderstand what we're saying and end up arguing about something that we actually are in complete agreement on. But if you had to, or decided, or for whatever reason felt like that Buddhism was the way to go, then that's great. I mean, there's something to celebrate. It's not like you've betrayed paganism by leaving us. There's many paths to the top of the mountain. I mean, when you go into a great cathedral, the lights through the various stained glass windows are many, but the light itself is one. Okay, second question from Fran Lawrence. Does saying or writing blessed be to a person or persons impart blessings? I think most of the time, no. When I say blessed be, it's it's just a sort of polite thing to say, like Gesundheit, or bless you when someone sneezes, or have a nice day, or have a good one. It's just sort of a uniquely pagan kind of an inside joke sort of greeting, blessed be. Oh, you're pagan. Yeah. Okay. It's that kind of thing, a sort of pagan secret handshake or password. Now, I suppose at the end of a ritual or the end of a ritual prayer, if you were to say, blessed be, and your intent really at that point is to impart a blessing, that a blessing would be imparted. I suppose it depends really on what you're intending, and most of the time when I say blessed be, I really don't particularly intend, raise energy to impart a blessing. It's just kind of a nice pagan thing to say. Okay, this is from Zeruku. Good greetings. I have a question that I've had some trouble asking. I've gotten into a semi-weekly, or at least when I have some peace during the day, meditation, and found that the suggestion of nature sound and easygoing music don't do anything for me. However, I have had either accidental meditations or more vivid meditations with music like dubstep, ambient, trance, or even some video game OSTs. I was wondering if any of the hosts have had experiences like this, or if I'm the only one. Good vibes to you all and have a nice day. Okay, well, you know, I'm pushing 61 here, so probably some of our younger hosts have had more definite experiences along the lines that you're talking about. When I do meditation, which is not real regularly, it's when I have time and when I feel the real need to meditate. You know, I guess I'm just not disciplined enough to meditate every day for X number of minutes or whatever. But if I feel the real need to meditate, then I do. It is sometimes with what's called mindful meditation. I'll go out for a walk, and rather than walking along daydreaming, letting my conscious mind sort of ramble on, I will quiet my conscious mind by focusing very deliberately on the steps that I am taking, the sounds that I am hearing, the things that I am seeing as I walk along. And I will gaze very intently at things and focus almost like a zoom lens on a camera, zooming through the leaves of the trees along the path I'm walking on. You know, I hear a bird off in the distance, and I will imagine, you know, I will try to project my hearing off in that direction and focus exclusively on that for a few moments, or as long as the bird call lasts. But it's a very focused, open-eye type meditation. I have used drumming and chanting, both some of the Hindu chants and some of the, you know, pretty generic, common pagan Wiccan type chants. And I found that the rhythmic chanting, the rhythmic drumming, I used to do drum circles a lot. I haven't, you know, the drum circle thing has kind of died out, or I've disconnected from it. But I've used that kind of music. I think I know what you're talking about, nature sounds. Way back when stuff was all still on vinyl 33s, there was at least one or two artists who would basically go out and record a thunderstorm, or sounds on the beach, or, you know, the sounds of dawn breaking and the different animals waking up, just the different, whatever sounds happened. So you could buy an album that one whole side of it, 20 or 30 minutes, was dawn or thunderstorm or whatever. And I think he also released a few albums where some kind of new agey sort of relaxing music was mixed in with these nature sounds. I used to have a few of those back in the early 70s, and you know, I'd listen to them, but I never did anything particularly meditative. I mean, it would be good background music, I guess, if you were studying or relaxing or something. I don't know that, I kind of agree with you. I don't know that nature sounds would be that meditative, if you're talking recorded nature sounds. As far as the particular kinds of music that you talked about, I am familiar with trance, trance dance. It's related to the ambient trance that you're talking about. I enjoy that as dance, as club music. You may find that difficult to believe, but I actually do. And you know, when you're on the dance floor to this type of music, and it is designed to shift the consciousness, put you into sort of a light, trancey sort of state, get the brain waves in sync with the beat of the music. It is a kind of trancey meditative thing, and I find it very pleasant. That's one of the reasons I enjoy doing it. But I've never used anything like that as a spiritual or religious meditative practice. Now, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. You know, continue experimenting with it, and you know, whatever you find that works for you, you know, continue doing it. And if you discover it doesn't work, or it worked and then it quits working, well, try something else. But try a variety of things. There are all sorts of different kinds of meditation, and sort of kinds of meditation within the kinds of meditation. So what works for someone's not going to work for others. So keep, you know, trying stuff, and you'll find out what works. Okay. That's really about all for tonight. I've had a really busy week. It's been the end of a term at school after just coming back from winter holidays, and also we are shifting the whole curriculum, and so that's a lot of extra work. So that's part of why this is late and why I'm only recording one of these. So let me quit talking, and I'll do the editing and hopefully be able to upload it sometime late tonight. And I'll see you guys next weekend when the question is offerings and how to make them.